Grab a cup, settle in, and turn it up. It's time for a couple of drips. Coffee, conversation, and occasional quips. Here's your host, Chris Granger.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3, still in lockdown, of a couple of drips. How are you all doing? How are you all managing out there? Today, my special guest is a very dear friend of mine and a wonderful musician, the fantastic Jamie Summerfield. How are you?
Hello, Chris. I'm very well. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Today's coffee, Jamie.
I'm just reaching for it now. I have it. I have the coffee.
First impressions? I have to say that last week Helen didn't have coffee, so she had to resort to Nescafe. Fortunately, although we're in lockdown and recording in our respective houses, Jamie doesn't live far from me, so I was in fact able to furnish him with a sample of the same coffee, which I believe you've brewed in an AeroPress.
I did. Went for the AeroPress.
I've just gone for the Harrier V60, which is a filter cone for any of the non-initiated.
Do you know what, Chris? This is really nice.
You like this? Okay, I bet you've been dying to know what it is, haven't you?
I had the tiniest sip when I just brewed it, so it was pretty hot, and it had a real kind of citrus acidity to it.
Did it now?
And now it's cooled down. That's completely gone, and this kind of very earthy, very musty flavour is there. I like both. It's very good.
I mean, I'm looking at the tasting notes here, and I think you're spot on there. So it's from Darkwoods in Yorkshire, which is one of my favourite coffee places, I have to say. And it's a Panama La Huela, and it's a red honey process. Red honey process, for anyone who doesn't know, is where the berries are red, and they take the berries off before they dry the coffee out, but they don't wash them, so the sticky goo from the berries is left on the coffee beans as it dries in the sun, so it gives it a slight more bitter edge than if it was a washed coffee. It gives it a little more flavour of the sour cherry in the coffee. And the tasting notes here are toffee and red fruits with a syrupy body, so I think you're getting the red fruits and the syrupiness when you're drinking it hot, and then I think when it cools a little bit, you're getting that toffee flavour coming out there.
That's exactly what I was getting. That's really good. I don't think I've had a coffee from Panama before.
No, I haven't either, which is why I bought it for the show, because, yes, I bought it, if Darkwoods are listening. I bought it for the show, and all samples greatly appreciated. I got it for the show purely because I'd not tried one, and I thought it was really interesting and really unusual. So yeah. I've got half a litre of that. I'll be working my way down that as the show progresses. So,
well, you know what I'm like after a coffee. I tend to talk very, very quickly.
Yes.
So we might get this podcast done in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I might have to just slow it all down, you know.
But you know what? Sometimes you get kind of stuck in the coffees that you like.
Yes, very much so.
I really like coffees from Kenya. And
oh gosh, coffees from Kenya.
Yeah,
Nicaragua. That acidity, fantastic. Nicaragua, fantastic. I like, I'm really into coffees from sort of the Indian, Asian continent. You don't see quite so many of them, but things like Sumatra and that, which you don't see so much of, because it tends to not be a lot of good quality coffee from there. There tends to be a lot of very cheap coffee produced, a lot of Robusta that's mixed with espresso blends and things like that, but not many coffees that you could drink as a single origin or as a blend in themselves. They tend to be mixed with coffees from other regions. So when you do find a nice coffee from that side of the globe, as it were, anything north of Australia, as I like to say, it's actually, when you do find a good one, it tends to be really good, but there tends not to be a lot of it, so you have to kind of jump on it when you do.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to be jumping on it, I think.
Yeah, this is really nice. Jamie and I both have a subscription to local coffee roasters Has Been, which we get regular deliveries with, and that's really good actually. The several subscription services out there, Pact do another one. Those services are great because you're trying different things all the time, and you might, like me, I would always go for a citrusy coffee or an acidic coffee, you know, and to have stuff arrive, and sometimes they're sending it out and you think, oh, that's perhaps not what I'd choose, and then it arrives and you go, oh, eyes opened.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm really looking forward to, Chris? The Pact, one of the companies that you mentioned, are doing a coffee advent calendar.
They are indeed, and
we've both got
one. Actually, I have to say, calendars at the ready. We both have one.
Yeah,
I had one last year, and I think I sort of twisted your arm into. It didn't take a lot of twisting to getting one this year, because they are absolutely fabulous. They're really worth. They're really worth the money, and to have that different coffee every day, and basically you go all the way around the coffee wheel, so you get a different flavour every day, and you kind of come back to where you started. So and they don't rip you off as well. There's 25 days, so a lot of advent calendars, only 24 days, and then Christmas Day, the best day, no coffee. What's that about?
Yeah, but
it's all right.
The advent calendar will get us through. If we're in another lockdown.
Yeah, definitely. See. So, Jamie, we've talked quite a bit about coffee, which is obviously a big passion of yours and mine. That's not how we met, though, is it?
I think when we met, I think I didn't really like coffee, if I'm honest. No, had nothing to do with that.
You've been listening to a couple of drips. No, I think that's right. You're definitely a beer man, because I don't know if you remember when we first met, but we sort of met on Twitter. Jamie used to run it's still going, but Jamie's handed over the reins now. Jamie started and ran a regular local fantastic website called A Little Bit of Stone. We're based in Stone in Staffordshire. And Jamie started this website, which was basically I think it's fair to say, community hub for information. It was kind of like an online magazine. And Jamie started this, and I seem to remember that we were chatting quite a bit over here, and there was a job that you needed a photographer for, and you said, oh, I can't do it. Could you possibly pop out and do this photography job? And then I went and did that, and then I think we met up there was a gig in a pub, and I think we met at a gig in a pub. I think it was the Royal Exchange, and I tapped you on the shoulder and introduced myself, and I think that was the first time we actually met. So I think we met over music and beer, but it gradually morphed into coffee and more music.
Yeah, music's been the kind of constant, hasn't it? I suppose all the way.
I think it has, definitely.
Passion of both of ours.
Definitely, and I think in the last couple of years it's definitely scaled up. I mean, you're doing some music journalism and PR now, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I've been working for, 20 years in journalism and PR and communications, and during lockdown I kind of had time to think a bit about what I was doing, what I wanted to do, and music is my big passion, making my own music. I love writing about it. So I thought, actually, I'm gonna now focus on that. So yeah, I'm now doing PR, marketing for independent bands and musicians.
Lovely. And I've noticed recently you've been doing quite a lot of online album reviews as well, which I'm very interested in.
Yeah, I've been doing lots of that the last few months.
Does that mean you get sent free music?
Well, the thing is, in the past, I remember when I used to do music fanzines in the early 90s.
Oh, nice.
And, you'd get albums through the post and things like that. Now you just get a download link. It's not the same.
It's not the same, is it? I was hoping like you might get these like vinyl box sets of 5 discs, kind of like a couple of £100 worth, like dropping on the doormat.
I think I'm reviewing the wrong things, aren't I?
I think you might be.
It's really, I love writing about music. It's very, it's such a kind of emotional, visceral reaction that you have to music, isn't it? And it's a real challenge to kind of express that in words about what that sound means to you.
Definitely.
So it's good, and I've been doing that for a few months, and it's brilliant, and it gets you exposed to lots of bands and artists that you'd never
And you're so
never
passionate
come across.
about it as well, which is great. And you're also kind of looking at it from the inside, being a songwriter as well, which clearly comes through, because so many kind of music journalists just kind of like love everyone on the first album, and then from the second album onwards, you know, just kind of lose interest. I'm thinking about a particular magazine that I wouldn't possibly name, but you know, Do you take that inside perspective on it, being a songwriter yourself?
I'm not sure. I don't know about you, but I think sometimes when you play and you write, it can sometimes be a little bit of a barrier between you and other music. I mean, for instance, if I ever go to a gig, gigs, remember them? If I go to a gig, I'm not really listening. I'm kind of studying. I'm kind of looking at how... Okay, if I get near the front, I'm looking at the guitar pedal board.
Yes, yeah.
I'm looking
at what amp they're using. Are they using in-ears? Are they using monitors? Yeah. Yeah, you can never switch. You can never switch that off. Do you find your own songs? You can't listen to them as songs.
I've never the stuff that I have got out there. I mean, my first single was out in June, and then there was an EP in September, I think. And no, I never listened to them.
Yeah.
No, it would.
I think when you do, you listen
weird.
from an analytical, critical point of view. Like, I'd probably change that now, and you can't just relax and enjoy the record for what it is, sort of thing. Yeah,
I couldn't listen. But then when I'm writing one, I've been working on one this week, a new one, and it's wonderful how it kind of takes you over.
Yeah.
Some chords come together.
Yeah.
There's a vibe there. There's a feeling.
Yeah.
A melody comes. The process is quite wonderful.
Yeah.
And so I get completely immersed in them. And then when they're finished, it's like, right, done.
So, I mean, you mentioned the demise of live music and gigs. I do miss those.
It's the hardest thing about lockdown, I think. But,
yeah. What was your last gig before lockdown?
The last gig was at the Mighty Sugar Mill in Hanley.
Yeah.
And it was a band called Working Men's Club.
Oh, nice.
And they were absolutely fantastic. But yeah, that's the thing. I had, like at the start of the year, I always kind of think, right, I don't really make resolutions, but I kind of think of a few things that I want to do that year. And the big one for me this year was to see more live music.
So what was your first ever live gig then, Jamie? Can you remember back in the annals of time?
We're just going... If you could just put a sound effect of us...
I'll ask you that question again, Jamie. So what was your first ever gig, Jamie, looking back in the annals of time?
That was impressive.
Thank you.
Well found.
Thank you.
Do you know what? I've got a confession to make, Chris.
Yeah.
I've got a confession to make. For many, many years, in fact, I think we're talking decades, I always told people when they said, what was your first gig?
Yeah.
I would always say it was New Order, Happy Mondays, and a certain ratio in Manchester.
Nice.
But do you know what? That was actually my second gig. Because the first one is, well, a little bit embarrassing.
You haven't heard mine yet.
Do you know what? My girlfriend at the time, her mum won a pair of tickets plus coach travel from Mike Lloyd Music to go and see this band at the NEC in Birmingham. And I thought, why not? Why not? This was early 90s,
now
probably 1990.
You're using the word band. Are you going to want to withdraw that in a minute?
Yeah, I think I'd better. Yeah. Anyway, it was the phenomenally mighty New Kids on the Block.
Okay,
I'm tough.
I mean, I'm going to let you into a little secret here. I wasn't at that gig, but I was at the sound check.
What?
My mum and dad were doing a show in the next hall, and we snuck into the sound check at one point.
Well, I'll tell you what, I wished I'd just snuck into the sound check and missed the gig.
Brilliant. I mean, that's bad, but we haven't done mine yet. I can remember the date of mine, and strangely, I can remember the seat number as well, which is Block 12, Row N, Seat 116, and it was the 18th of January, 1981. So I was 10, so you have to allow me that. It was Barry Manilow.
Oh, at the Copacabana.
I tell you what, the man can put on a show.
I can imagine, yeah.
I was very into him in my teenage years for no apparent reason other than my nan was really into him, and I thought he was a great songwriter.
Well, he is.
He is a great songwriter, but street cred now, and you listen to the records now and you think, not sure.
Oh dear! Do you know what? I'm so impressed that I've got to admit, another confession. I couldn't remember how we met, and that was only a few years ago. You can remember the bloody seat number of a gig you went to.
It's weird. I don't know why. It was the first gig I ever went to, and I was blown away by the idea that everyone was playing these instruments live in front of me. It wasn't a recording. And I was just blown away, and I had the program, and I obsessed over this ticket for years. Just the idea that these musicians could do this, and I think that's what probably got me into. Although I picked up a guitar when I was 6 or 7 and had guitar lessons, but I hadn't really done anything with them. But that was kind of when I thought, well, I might up my game a little bit here,
Oh wow, yeah.
But yeah. Favorite gig, best gig you've ever been to?
Oh my word, that's really tough. I think, you know what, it was quite a recent one, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. A band called Ride, who were massive in the kind of early mid-90s, real kind of shoegaze band that I absolutely adored at the time, and they came back a few years ago. They started playing some live shows again, and I went to one they did at one of my favourite venues, the Albert Hall in Manchester.
Oh, that is such a gorgeous band. It looks like a church.
It does, and it was I think it was July or August, so when you get in the venue, it's the closest thing to an outdoor festival gig indoors, because when you go in there and it's sunshine outside, the sunlight streams through the stained glass windows, and then it goes dark, and it's beautiful.
Fantastic.
And they just played this incredible set, and me and lots of other kind of middle-aged people just lost their shit. It was just so good, and it's that kind of weird sugar rush of nostalgia and delight that they're back, and
brilliant.
It was incredible. There's actually there's a video on YouTube of that gig that someone filmed from up on the balcony during one of their songs called Vapor Trail. And you can see me in a red T-shirt really clearly, like I'm on acid.
Nice.
I was limbs flailing, jumping around. I wasn't on acid, by the way.
No. Didn't you go and see... Is that the same venue you went to see the Divine Comedy without me?
You've still not got over that, have you?
No. One of my favourite bands of all time. Was that the Albert Hall?
It was. Yeah, it was. That was when they...
Perfect setting for them, I would have thought.
Yeah, it was superb. But do you know what? I was right at the back for that one. And it was great. They were... He's amazing, isn't he, Neil?
Oh,
Hanna?
Neil's
he's
a
one
legend.
of my favourite songwriters and performers.
Yeah.
So I've seen a good few gigs there actually. Yeah, great venue.
Brilliant. I love it. One of my favourite gigs, purely down to the fact that it was the strangest venue I've ever been to in a purely fabulous way, was last year, or was it the year before now? I'm losing track. We went to see Father John Misty.
Oh. Do you know what? Can I scrub my face?
That was such an amazing gig. It was in Liverpool Olympia, which is a old boxing venue. And so we had a table at the back, and you literally look down over the rows of seats, and all the seats have tables in front because they would score the boxing, and I think they did ballroom dancing and stuff there as well. And so you're kind of looking down this channel at the gig, but we have this table and chairs and a bar next to us. It was just the strangest venue, but the sound was amazing.
It was. Well, I think it's one of the best sounds that I've ever heard at a live gig.
Definitely,
it was immaculate, wasn't it? And it was beautiful because, like you said, we were on a balcony, and the ceiling was very low.
Yeah,
and it created this kind of widescreen box around the band, if you remember.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. It was just surreal. What a venue that was.
That was great. And do you remember the first gig we went to together?
Oh, man, this is so bad.
I can't
remember how we met.
Memory here.
I can't remember our first gig together. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I'll make it up to you afterwards.
I'll give you a clue. It was for your 40th birthday.
Oh, was it the Happy Mondays?
Happy Mondays.
Another nostalgia rush.
That was a great weekend. Went to the Happy Mondays gig on the one night, and then we went to the Bacchus Bar and what's that other Real Ale place that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, I know
a few of those kind of venues. Fantastic. And then in the morning, as the cure-all for a hangover, we went to Subway for a steak and cheese sub.
Oh yes,
that was a really nice weekend. And then they just opened the new library in Birmingham, so Jamie and I spent half the day going and looking at the new library and standing on the roof. If you've not seen the main library in Birmingham, it is absolutely spectacular.
It is, yeah, I remember.
They have a Shakespeare room on the top floor. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
There are literally billions and billions of podcasts out there, so the chances of finding intelligent life amongst them are so infinitesimally small as to not even be worth looking. Could you then have stumbled onto the one podcast where intelligent life could exist? No, you haven't.
So, when did you start songwriting then, Jamie?
Oh man, a long time ago actually. I bought my first guitar with my birthday money when I was 18. So I was a little bit late, I suppose, because like you were saying, you were playing when you were much younger than that.
Yeah, I didn't really take it seriously until I was 18. I think I was 15 and someone asked me to play bass on a school assembly. And that was the first time I'd picked up a bass. Mm-hmm. And I was playing guitar up until that point, and I just suddenly went, oh, this is the instrument for me, kind of thing, you know. Yeah. So,
well, I did have a battered acoustic from when I was about 16, 17.
There's always one in the house, isn't there? It's either a piano or a guitar.
I don't know where it came from, but it only had 2 strings. And I got quite proficient at playing a 2-string guitar. So I thought playing guitar was easy. I was like, oh man, this is brilliant. So then when I finally had one with the additional 4 strings.
Oh, I've got to play chords now.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I can't do this. This is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. But then obviously you go to college and university and you think, oh, all the cool people are playing guitar. So you're like, right, this is it. I've got to try and do it. So yeah, it was then. And what I didn't like. I think because I struggled in the transition from the 2-string to the 6-string guitar to kind of play anyone else's songs. I thought I'll just do my own.
Oh, brilliant! You see that can be the best thing sometimes. Once you know too much about an instrument, you can limit yourself sometimes.
That's so true, you know, because last year I've always only played the guitar, but I bought a MIDI keyboard and sampler, which is just amazing. And you're so right, because you're so used to doing something on the guitar. Yeah. When I've started doing stuff on that, it's like it just wakes up little bits of your brain that you haven't been using. Let
your fingers fall on the keys, because if you pick up a guitar, you're going to play a chord you know. But if you don't know the chords on the piano, you're just going to put your fingers on. Oh, that doesn't sound right. Move your finger 1 key backwards or forwards, you know.
Yeah, that's it. So it was always about writing my own stuff.
Brilliant.
And I think it was always a kind of many songwriters kind of look outward for their songs. Many songwriters look inward, and I think I very much look inward. It's a real kind of cathartic counselling process. And lyrics, you know, it's bizarre because I love lyrics, I love songs, but then a lot of the stuff I really like, the lyrics don't really matter too much. Like in that 90s shoegaze stuff that I love so much, sometimes the lyrics are so laden with effects and buried in the mix.
Yeah.
You're not actually sure what they're singing.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And you think of, bands like Cocteau Twins, singing in Gaelic Irish, or Sigur Rós in Icelandic,
Sigur Rós.
and their kind of made-up language.
Yeah.
Sometimes the actual words don't mean as much as just that feeling and that melody and that
definitely.
vibe that's there.
So you've just recorded a Christmas song then, Jamie. What's your favourite Christmas song? What are the Christmas songs that have inspired you?
Well, as a child of the 80s, I'm just such a sucker for those kind of classic, schmaltzy 80s Christmas songs. I think my favourite from that period has to be Last Christmas by Wham.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That is not what I would have expected you to say.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Is it that warm, feel-good sort of... Is it the video or is it...
Oh, the video's so funny, isn't it?
It's great.
Those massive winter coats they're wearing.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Shot in August.
Yes. I honestly don't know what it is. Now I've come to defend my decision. It's just something about that song which kind of, right, if I hear it now, if I walked into a shop and it was playing, it just, you're straight back in your kind of childhood, I suppose. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Playing with the Simple Simon and just family Christmases.
Brilliant.
I think it's maybe that, but I just love the whole vibe and feel about it. I love, bizarrely, it's got that kind of, I love getting kind of wrapped up in those kind of schmaltzy, sentimental emotions at Christmas.
Oh, I love that. I love Hallmark Film Channel and all that.
That's it. So I think Last Christmas is just, I don't know, and I suppose particularly now, since George Michael's no longer with us, it's got an added kind of poignancy. Thank you, Chris. So yeah, I love it. I think it's my favourite. Although I love, to be honest, that kind of classic, think like Ella Fitzgerald's Christmas albums are incredible. Nat King
amazing.
Cole.
Yeah.
And I think the best Christmas album is probably the Phil Spectre.
Oh, I've not heard that. I might have to look that up.
It's amazing. Bands like...
Might have to get you to send me a link to that, and I'll put it in the description later on.
Yeah, it's amazing. And also, I think another one that I just adore. I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan.
Oh, yes.
A good few years ago now, he did a Christmas album.
That is a great album.
Oh, it's just... It shouldn't work on every level that you can kind of imagine.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus.
Yeah. It's just amazing. My favourite song on that album is Must Be Santa, which sounds like the Pogues with Bob Dylan kind of growling all over it. It's just incredible.
Brilliant. Talking of the Pogues, I mean, one of my favourite Christmas records is the Kirsty MacColl and Pogues.
Of course. Of course.
That's a great record, although I think my all-time favourite is probably... Do you know Jonah Louie? Wish I Was at Home for Christmas.
Oh, yes.
The one with the military drums at the start. Fantastic. You've been writing and recording a Christmas song recently.
I know. Well, you've been very heavily involved.
I have, in fact. I pushed all the buttons. And Jamie played a lot of the instruments. And in fact, we're going to listen to that in a minute. But before we do that, actually, we've got a little 2-minute documentary about the creative process of that, really. Which,
okay.
So just a little insight into the creative process before we actually listen to the song. So we'll have a listen to that now. It's been a while since we've heard a traditional Christmas single. So when Jamie approached me and said, could we record a traditional old-fashioned Christmas pop single, I was delighted to take up the challenge. So Jamie, what was the recording process like for you?
Oh, mate,
it were fucking rock hard, and it went on forever.
Yes, well, quite. And how did you find the writing process?
Oh, mate, it were fucking rock hard, and it went on forever.
And you played most of the instruments as well, didn't you? Keyboards, guitars. How was that?
Oh, mate, it were fucking rock hard, and it went on forever.
Yes, I see. What follows is a short insight into that working process and the difficulties presented with such a challenge.
Near, far, wherever you are.
Jamie, love. Darling, I think you're a bit flat.
Say you're gonna be here.
Jamie, love, if you could do a bit more sort of tuning. Super, Jamie. I think you've nailed it. Oh, yeah, baby. Give it to me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, go for it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, darling, come through to the control room and listen to what you've done.
And so there you have it, a little insight into how we made our Christmas record. It was good, wasn't it, Jamie?
Oh, mate, it were fucking rock hard, and it went on forever.
Can you tell I had too much time on my hands this week?
That was amazing.
I'd actually got your mic in my headphones while you were listening to that, because I thought this could go two ways.
That was amazing. Do you know what?
It's amazing what you can do with auto-tune.
I think I'm just... I never question anything. So, like, when you sent me an email on Monday, I think it was, Jamie, could you send me an audio clip of you saying this precise sentence? I just went, all right, then, yeah, go on. Sent it over to you. I just thought you were like testing levels or something on my microphone.
I woke up dreaming that sketch and thought, I've just got to do it.
That was brilliant. And I mean, the thing is, it's eerily accurate.
No, not really. You've never sung out of tune. But I mean, yeah, that's fabulous. I mean, I think that's a good time as any to just, before we play it, I mean, Christmas songs, there has been a demise of the traditional Christmas song, really, which I think is a shame. The things that tend to be at number one now tend to be very, very generic songs that could be around at any time of the year. I mean, why do you think that is?
Do you know what? I think perhaps Cliff Richard's Mistletoe and Wine killed the whole thing.
The final nail in the coffin.
I think, like many things, it's Cliff Richards that we can blame.
Yeah.
Cliff Richards. It's not Cliff Richards, is it? Cliff Richard. But yeah, I think it's probably... I mean, I don't know. It does... For us, it's like it brings back wonderful memories of kind of, you know, Christmas Day, Top of the Pops and these beautiful singles, but it can be a little bit passé, I suppose, and seem a bit old-fashioned, but I don't know.
I think it's time to bring it back. I think Christmas has got to be... The music scene has got to be different at Christmas to the rest of the year, you know? I think it's fine to bring out Slade and Wizard and all those things at Christmas, and even Wham.
Even Wham. Don't say even Wham. I picked up on your tone there.
I'm just still shocked at that choice. I mean, I can't argue with it. It is a great song, but that's not what you expect to come out of a sort of 90s shoegazy.
I know. There are lots of other. I mean, loads of kind of cool indie bands have done Christmas songs. So, like, I mean, like The Fall, Marquis Smith and The Fall.
Oh yeah, yeah. You
can't even begin to imagine a Christmas song from them. But I'm sure they did about 9. There's loads of them, and some of them are absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Like the Flaming Lips, their Christmas album is like...
Fabulous.
Is like Santa Claus kind of had his sherry, his mince pie, and a tab of acid. Just bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. And there's been loads. And I suppose it's kind of like the one time that kind of, I'm not saying I'm cool or indie at all, but those kind of artists can kind of just let their guard down and just have a laugh.
Yeah.
And so there's always a little bit of tongue in cheek, a little bit of like ironic fun with it. Whereas I think
I think the last real Christmas record that anyone ever made was probably The Darkness.
Yeah.
Don't let the bells end.
Yeah. Although that had its tongue
Firmly in its cheek,
didn't it? Yeah. I'm sure they've done a beer. They've teamed up with a brewery this year to do a beer that's just called Bell's End.
Very
but
nice.
do you know what, Chris? I never ever wanted to do a Christmas song. It was never like part of the plan. I'd had some chords and a melody for, I'd say, about 10 years. Years and years, and I really liked it. But whatever I tried with it, different melodies, different ideas, it never worked.
Right.
But I thought the song itself, the structure of it, the sound, the vibe of it is beautiful. I've got to make it work. So, bizarrely, in August, I was just sat where I am now at home, trying again. Okay, back to those chords. And the first line that I sung when I was just kind of ad-libbing over the top was, "If you are at home this Christmas." And I kind of stopped dead. I was like, "Oh, what am I doing? You need to knock that on the head."
Didn't your daughter pick you up on that as well? Didn't she stick her head around the door or something? I remember you telling me and say, "Were you just singing about Christmas?"
Yeah, I think so. She said, "What the hell are you singing about Christmas Eve for?" Very supportive.
She'll be eating her words now. She'll be very proud.
I'm sure. But yeah, so I thought I'll just go with it. Okay, if you are at home at Christmas, let's go. And it only took about half an hour.
Beautiful.
And it was all done.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was just dead easy. And it just, it was a real joy to write, and I love singing it.
Brilliant. Well, I really like it as well, and I've listened to it a lot, obviously, because I've mixed it. And
I'm sick.
I've had it on loop, incessantly going around, and I still like it. That's always a good sign. And it is a proper traditional Christmas record. It's got a bit of everything in there. There's a bit of sleigh bells. There's a kind of, it's almost, when I listen to it, I feel like I'm standing outside in the snow. I mean, it really does have that. So,
brilliant. Can I use that in the marketing and publicity?
Please do. Please do.
Thanks very much.
Please do. So I think, without further ado, I think we should have a listen to it now. So this is the fantastic Christmas single from Jamie Summerfield. When's this coming out, Jamie?
It's coming out on the 4th of December.
Brilliant. And that will be available on Spotify, Deezer,
all over the place.
Apple Music, etc.
That's it. Wherever you can stream music, it will be sitting there waiting for you to listen to it.
Fantastic. So this is Christmas Eve by Jamie Summerfield.
Christmas, you'll be there to see the spirit of imagination that brought you here right next to me. You haven't been around here lately, but I'm starting to believe that you're traveling through snow to get here just in time for Christmas Eve. Near, far, wherever you are, it's a perfect world. If we get this right, we can find the joy we need on Christmas Eve. Oh, it's Christmas Eve. Oh, can't you see? Oh, it's Christmas Eve. Now it's time to place the presents underneath the tree. And through it all I'm praying, I hope you Christmas Eve. Oh, it's Christmas Eve. Oh, can't you see? Oh, it's Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve. Oh, it's Christmas Eve.
That is really beautiful, Jamie.
Oh, thanks, mate.
I have to say, that is lovely. Very nice. That is a proper traditional Christmas song, isn't it?
It's
well
nice,
done.
isn't it?
Well
I
done,
like it,
mate.
yeah.
Round of applause.
Well, I've got to thank your good self. I think I've got to thank you, Chris, because you've done an absolutely
no need to thank me. I'll tell you what, it was an absolute joy
that.
to work on. The chance to work on a Christmas song doesn't happen very often, sort of thing. So just that opportunity to actually do something that, because I am one of the biggest fans of Christmas.
I know.
You know, I start buying mince pies in August.
Yeah, I've never known anyone get so wrapped up in Christmas like you do.
Yeah,
it's
I
wonderful.
do. I do.
It's wonderful. I also must thank Richard Matthews, incredibly
Yes.
talented
Beautiful
guitarist,
guitar.
who put the electric guitar on that, which adds so much. So yeah, thanks to Rich as well.
No, absolutely. You've a nice bit of guitar twangery there. So you played the keyboards on that as well. As you said earlier, you you're not a keyboard player, but you sort of picked up a keyboard recently and the guitars and that. When you write a song like that, or any of your other songs for that matter, do you have a vision of the whole song when you start writing it? Can you hear all the lines in your head, or do you sort of write the guitar part and then try things later on?
I think for me, the first thing that comes is just the melody.
Yeah.
You know, 2 chords or 3 chords will chime together and will instantly, in your gut, you kind of know what that's going to be about. You know, the emotion and the feeling. And so I'll always work on just the melody, just getting a really nice melody.
Yeah.
And then, bizarrely, the lyrics, it's a little bit like doing a really hard kind of crossword puzzle or anything like that, you know, having an absolute nightmare rack of letters in Scrabble. And it's like, oh, okay, right.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Sometimes they can come really quickly. Other time, I've got so many songs where I've never quite cracked the lyrics. It can be difficult. Yeah, but it's a real joy kind of working on it. And it really does feel like you're kind of like a sculptor kind of chipping away at something.
Yeah.
But it is hard. And I think it's kind of like sometimes you can think, you know, oh, I want to write a song about, or I find if I do that, I'm scuppered. It just has to come naturally. And sometimes it can just be like, you might just hear something, you might read a line in a newspaper article or hear something on the radio and it'll set you off. So, you know, always got a notebook or getting things in my phone.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah.
Particularly like the Christmas song, it can be very difficult to not. You've got to get a level of cheese, a level of cheesiness, but there's a line where it would just become too saccharine and kind of dismissed.
I mean, we talked, didn't we, while we were doing it about, right, let's throw the kitchen sink at this.
Literally,
everything's going in it. Come on. And I remember that one night in your studio, where, you know, the triangle came out.
We did.
Loads of
Live
different
percussion.
Yeah, and it's like, I must admit at that point I was having such a good time, but I thought,
that was such a laugh.
Yeah, but I thought, this could go over the top. This could be mad.
It's difficult to know, isn't it, how to do that. I particularly love the Vangelis keyboard bit in that.
Yes.
towards the end. It's just pure Vangelis, and it's like
It is, isn't
this keyboard sound couldn't be more Christmassy if you covered the keyboard in tinsel. And
Well, which I did, obviously.
yeah, well, obviously. So we're up to the point now where I'm going to do a regular feature. This is a feature we've had by accident in episode 1. We followed it up in episode 2, but now you can hear the level of my songwriting capabilities, because it's a new feature that we've actually got a jingle for.
Climb to fame, climb to fame. It's your chance to drop a name. Trying to outdo each other's kind of lame. One-upmanship is the only aim. Claim to fame, claim to fame, claim to fame, claim to fame.
Yes, claim to fame.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'd forgotten about that bit on the end.
And hang on, a few minutes ago you said that you can't write lyrics. Come on.
Oh dear.
That was excellent. I'll tell you what, Adam Buxton had better be worried.
He makes water, right? Yeah. So, I believe you accidentally met Dave Stewart at some point.
I did. I think it was 1992 in Hornsey in North London, where I later found out he had a studio in a converted former church on the main road. And I was coming out of a cafe. I was down there when I was doing fanzines in the early 90s. I was with this band and we just nipped out for a coffee.
Oh.
And as I came out of the cafe, I almost knocked him off his bike. And he turned round and he kind of mumbled something, but he was on the pavement.
Yeah.
You know, the musical history could have been very, very different if it was a sliding doors moment in essence.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, if I'd just stepped that little bit further or gone out the door, 0.2 of a second later, I might have knocked him off his bike. Who knows what would have happened? And
I believe at some point you got to interview the fabulous Joan Collins as well.
Oh, I did. This was when I was working as a reporter on local newspapers, and she was in a play that was touring round the regions, and it came to the Regent Theatre in Hanley.
Oh, what a great theatre!
Yeah,
remember theatres?
Remember them? But I went along to review it, and the chap who was kind of the press officer at the Regent Theatre at the time, lovely chap, Dave Bradbury, he said, "I can get you an interview if you want. I'll try and get an interview."
Nice.
So of course you're not going to say no to that, are you?
No, you're not.
But I wish I had said no to that.
Really?
I'll be honest.
Intimidating?
Well, after the performance, a good half hour had gone by, and the interview was to take place in the bar.
Right.
I think on the first floor.
Right.
So I was sat there. This was many years ago, and I was getting quite nervous with the wait. And I thought, is she going to come? And she kind of swept into the room with her husband. Dave showed her, this is Jamie from the Sentinel, and she sat down and she just fixed me with her eyes and just said, "You've got really shifty eyes, haven't you?"
Oh.
And I didn't quite know what to say.
That's
or how
quite
to
an
respond to
opening.
that. It is, isn't it?
Ooh.
If it was meant to kind of...
How strange.
Throw me off guard, it did, because it wasn't a great interview, I've got to admit.
Just remember, Leonard Rossiter in the Cinzano adverts used to refer to her as the prop. That'll give you a little bit of perspective.
Oh, bless.
Oh, wow, that's right. Whenever you see... I mean, it's a weird thing, isn't it? She's such an immense megastar, and yet whenever you see a film with Joan Collins in, you think, this is probably going to be quite bad. She's either being chased by some giant ant, or I saw I saw like a Hammer horror thing the other day with loads of fake blood with her and Denham Elliott, and it was just overacting. To be honest,
I did actually ask her about the Giant Ants film.
Did you?
I can't remember what I asked her, but I remember it got a bit frosty. It's always bizarre when you see someone that you only know from two dimensions. When you kind of see them there sat in front of you, it's so off-putting.
Yeah, it is.
And when they are, because, she's really, really famous.
Yeah.
And so, it's an intimidating thing.
You're listening to A Couple of Drips. Why? Why would you do that? Are you okay? Oh well, you're here now. As you were. Jamie was in fact the inspiration for doing this podcast, because a couple of people listened to the test recording and went, "Oh, you should make a show out of this," because I was planning a completely different show about home recording and stuff at the time. During that show, we invented, of course, the boxers or pants. So we've already done that. So that might be in the best bits. But so I have some alternate questions to ask you. Red or brown sauce?
Red sauce, tomato ketchup, definitely. Unless, no. I was going to say, if it's, let's say we've got an oat cake with cheese and bacon, has to be brown.
It's got to be brown.
If it's a burger with some chips, it's got to be red. I'm not very good at kind of binary opposition things. I always find the grey area.
That's absolutely fine. Well, you certainly did that with the pants and boxers, as I'm sure you heard in episode 1, where Danny called you a strange cat.
He did, didn't he? Do you know
he
what?
Did, because of the hybrid pant boxer.
I know. I've been mulling over Danny's comments there, because I think it's fair to say that he poured scorn on my idea of wearing very loose pants for a walk.
He did,
and then tighter afterwards.
Yeah,
and it got me thinking. I've been reflecting. I've been
reflecting on this, and on reflection, I've realised that I'm a fool. So have you changed your ways? Are you now, I mean, this has turned into pants or boxers. Are you now wearing the supportive pants for the walk?
Well, what I've decided to do is this weekend is to actually trial that. Is to flip.
Nice.
Go the other way. See what happens. I'll keep you posted.
Yes, please do. This is clearly a running feature, and if you missed episode 1, you won't have a clue what we're on about. Baths or showers?
It's got to be a bath every time.
Oh,
every time.
Discuss.
Well, I can quite easily spend a good couple of hours in the bath. Regular half-hourly top-ups of hot water.
And don't know where you found the time.
Oh, you have to make time for baths. It's really important. I've got my book, got my phone, got a cup of tea or a coffee. And I can just...
You're selling it to me now. I mean, I must admit, I've always been a shower guy. I haven't used the bath here for several years. I've always like quick in and out shower guy. I always think with a bath, you're sitting in your own stuff kind of thing. But yeah, you might. I mean, taking that time for yourself is important, because I don't think we do a lot of that, especially in lockdown.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I can have one every day. I could quite easily soak for an hour or two every day.
Oh,
I think I might start doing that.
Yeah, no, that sounds like it's an event bath for you.
You can get tickets on Eventbrite.
Where can people find you? Where can people find your music? Where can people find your journalism?
Search on Spotify or whatever platform they use. Just search for Jamie Summerfield. My music PR stuff, my business is called Space Between the Notes. The website is spacenotes.co.uk, which sounds like the kind of website that Professor Brian Cox, who was... how did you get Brian Cox to do your...
well, it's funny you should mention that, because it's the wonderful Danny Davis.
Oh, it was brilliant. And I'm on Twitter, JVictor7.
I'll put a link to all of those in the episode description, But it only remains for me to say thank you very much for being my guest today, Jamie. It's been an absolute delight. Jamie's Christmas single is out on the 4th of December on all the usual streaming platforms. So just search for Jamie Summerfield. And the single's called Christmas Eve.
It's called Christmas Eve, yeah.
Fantastic. And Jamie already has he has an EP and I think one other recording out there. So do check him out. Follow him on Spotify or Deezer or Apple Music. Thank you very much, Jamie.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I really enjoyed it.
I've loved doing it and love talking to you. And hopefully soon lockdown will be over and we can actually meet in person. But thank you very much to Jamie Summerfield for being my guest. Thank you to Clean Feed for providing us with the connection today. And I look forward to speaking to all you listeners next time. Thanks a lot. You've been listening to A Couple of Drips. The show was conceived and presented by Chris Granger and is a Cup the Mic production.